Hey everybody, it's Jake back here again with another video. And it's been a while since I've made a YouTube video. I was kind of bored today and figured I'd shoot one real quick. So what we're going to talk about today are big blades for bushcraft. Now, if you know me personally, I like bigger blades, things like machetes, forest tools, all that good stuff. I'm not a big knife guy. I like smaller knives, and if I need a bigger blade for something, I'll typically just carry it. So I'm going to move the camera in here, lay some stuff out, and just kind of give you guys some of my thoughts and mentality behind carrying a bigger blade while you're in the woods. Check out these sweet buckskin bags that I sewed up. So, alrighty, I've got some good tools in each one of these. As far as big blades go, I'm not a blade snob, I guess you could say, with big blades. There's really only a few that I've found over the past, years that I've been doing this that I really like. And one of those is going to be I'm pretty sure this is the U.S. Army machete. Anyways, this is, I think, an 18-inch machete. It's not the sawback, it's the plain version. There are different modifications and things you can do to make this thing more versatile for bushcraft. It's full tang. It's some type of high carbon steel. I don't know if it's like a 1075 or a 1095. I'm not exactly sure, to be honest with you, but it's got a nice 90-degree spine on the back of it. It's really easy to get these things razor sharp, and these things are really good tools, and you can get them for a fairly good price. You can get, I think I picked this one up a long time ago for like 40 bucks or something like that. It had to have a little bit of work done to it. I had to put some love into it, but it served me well ever since. So that would be one of my choices. Next choice is obviously going to be my baby. If you've been following me for long enough, you know now that I absolutely love this Jeff White forest tool. I actually sold this tool back in February, and I was going to try to find something else that was just as good, that I liked just as much, and I just could not find it. For me, this right here is the perfect big blade for bushcraft. It's full tang, 1095 high carbon. It's got the convex grind. It's got a nice choil on it, so you can really choke up on it to do fine work, and it just feels really good in the hand. The handle's not too big, but this thing is basically a fro with a handle on it. So I am a really big fan of this blade. It's done everything that I need it to do. If you've watched, like I said, any of my videos in the past, you know how much I love this blade. And so this for me is the perfect size as far as cutting surface goes, total length goes, everything, for a bigger blade for if you're using it while you're in the woods, things like that. All I did was just I've got the leather sheath inside of this, but I made a buckskin covering that I can throw over my shoulder, because I like to carry this thing over my shoulder, and it just kind of sits down here and I can pull it out, all that good stuff. I don't like it hanging off of my belt as much. But a bigger blade, like either of these two blades, summertime in the eastern woodlands, is going to be, for me, more preferable than an axe. I like axes, I collect axes, but I don't carry a lot of axes because I don't feel like, for what I do and for me, they're as versatile as a large cutting blade like this, especially in the summertime. I'm not saying that they're not a versatile tool. Obviously, some people like axes over big blades, and that's fine. It's all, what you like and what you're comfortable with. But I do like the bigger blade over an axe, just because if you try to walk through some of the stuff now, it's super thick, grown up. You can cut a trail, you can baton with this thing, you can use it as a draw knife, all that good stuff. So I feel like the learning curve of using a bigger blade like this isn't as steep as the learning curve is for using an axe. That's my personal opinion, just based off of what I've seen students use, all that good stuff, different injuries. You don't have a 1 or 2 pound head on the end of a handle that you're swinging and could possibly bury into your leg. Now, these things are just as dangerous as, it's a large blade, okay? So they're going to be just as dangerous as an axe. But to say that an axe is more versatile than something like a machete is bonkers, in my opinion, depending on where you live. There are entire civilizations still to this day in the Amazon jungle and different jungles all over the world that use machetes on a day-to-day basis. They do everything from using them as a draw knife, busting up coconuts with them, anything you can imagine they use it for, but especially people in the Amazon. So these things can be just as versatile in the right hands as an axe could be, right? So that's kind of my mentality behind big blades. I like a bigger blade for bushcraft like this. I don't like carrying a larger knife. I like carrying an actual dedicated big blade. And if I were to pick one, it's going to be the Jeff White Forest tool. Now, these Jeff White Forest tools are no longer made and they're hard to find. And when you do find them, you're going to pay a price for them. I sold this thing for, I forgot how much, and then I ended up buying it back because I liked it so much. I know SE makes one called the Hungless. And to be honest with you, I'm sorry if I offend some people, but I'm not a huge SE guy. Never really have been. I've had a few of their blades. They're just not comfortable to me. I don't really like the coating. I don't like the grind. But there are some people that love SE. I'm just not a huge fan of them. It's just not my style. But you can get something like this U.S. Army machete, or you can even get like I think it's called a Tramontina machete. I mean, for fairly cheap. I mean, you can get machetes for like 20 bucks, and that are good machetes. Some of you may laugh, but even the Gerber machete is a pretty decent machete. And also, just to kind of attest and kind of back up what I'm saying, if you go to any farm, at least in my area, and you go up to a farmer's tractor or a four-wheeler, you will not see an axe on that four-wheeler or tractor. You will see a machete, exactly like this one, that's probably painted orange in case they drop it, because it's just used as a junk machete. You will probably see one of those on the tractor 90% of the time. They don't really carry axes because there's really no need to. A machete for this area is a little bit more versatile in my opinion, unless you're doing something specific like carving, fine carving, all that good stuff, or you're building something structural where you need a big heavy bit axe in order to create those big notches, things like that. But unless I'm doing something like that, I don't feel a need to carry an axe. Alrighty, so hopefully I didn't offend anybody. I'm not saying my take is the right take. I'm not saying it's the wrong take. It's just my personal opinion. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. So next I want to kind of talk about my cutting tool selections for if I am going to go on an adventure in the woods and I'm not going completely primitive or anything like that. I want to kind of enjoy myself and take some modern tools with me. So what I carry every day, I had a ton of questions in my last video about this. This right here is I think it's called the Estella Daily Duo from Yellow Birch Outfitters. It carries a Swiss Army knife and then an Exotac fire rod. I like this because this right here rides loose in my pocket, and I have lost so many of these Swiss Army knives out of my pocket just from slipping out. I couldn't even tell you how many of these I've bought. So this is a fairly new one. But I've been carrying this setup for about 3 or 4 months now. I bought this setup literally a week before he closed. So Yellow Birch Outfitters no longer makes these. But this is really nice to have because it gives you that option of having a small pocket style blade on you and then a ferro rod. But what I like about it most is it always stays upright in my pocket and it doesn't just fall out haphazardly. So this is usually in my pocket, this or a multi-tool. But I've been consistently carrying this every single day for the past 3 or 4 months, and I'm a huge fan. So on top of the large blade, I will generally carry some type of folding saw if I'm teaching classes or whatever. This light kind of sucks right here, man. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm looking in the camera right now, this lighting really sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. I'm using my phone to film with, so. But I would generally carry some type of folding saw. My personal preference is the Baco Laplander. I'm pretty sure everyone pretty much knows my opinion on this. I do not like the Silkies. I'm not saying they're not good saws. They are good saws, but I've never seen a Baco Laplander break. I have seen Silky saws break multiple times, probably at least 10. So for me, I don't want to sacrifice that durability of the Baco Laplander for something that's a little bit more expensive and cuts maybe 30 seconds faster, but the blade breaks if I absolutely need it. And you know, you can carry extra blades and things like that. I have no problem with that. But for me, I just kind of want it to be a one and done. So that's why I go with the Baco Laplander. These things are still like 25 bucks. I think I've had, you can see the paint's worn off of this one. I've had this one for, I don't even know how long, over 10 years, I would say. And it still cuts just as good today as it did the day I bought it. So this gives me ability to cut smaller wood. You know, if I want to make traps or cut up firewood, what have you, this gives me that ability. So, small folding saw. I will usually go with some type of belt knife. Now, full transparency, usually if I'm in the woods, if I'm not teaching, I usually will just toss the belt knife in my backpack. I don't really like things hanging off my belt very much. I'm more of a net carry guy. But you can't go wrong with some type of Mora. Everybody knows that I'm a Mora fanboy. There's no secret. This has some sort of junk or wax or something on it. But some type of Mora would do you just fine. Now, I will say, and people are kind of going to disagree with me on this, which is fine, I do not have to have a full tang belt knife to do what I want it to do. And the reason for that is a big part of bushcraft or practicing your skills or whatever you want to call it, is knowing the limitations of your tools, right? So something like this Mora Companion, right? This is a fairly new one. I've cut, I don't remember what I cut last time I used it, but it's got the blade all gooey and stuff. But this is a fairly new one. I've had the HD one for a while, but I didn't have the actual, just the Companion. So carbon steel blades, candy grind, everybody knows the deal with Mora. They're comfortable knives. They are budget-friendly knives. And quite frankly, this right here will do everything that this could do, maybe minus some heavy-duty batoning, right? And again, it goes back to knowing the limitations of your tools and how to use your tools properly, okay? So I would be perfectly comfortable with not using the Garberg, but just tossing something like this in my bag, and this right here is my setup, right? I would have zero problems with that. But this is just an option. I think I got this thing for like 20 bucks or something like that. It's Mora Companion. A little bit heavier duty. Obviously, everybody knows I love the Garberg. This thing right here is my baby. It has been beat to death. I mean, just spines all chewed up from demos. I mean, you name it, I've done it with this blade. You cannot kill this blade. And I absolutely love the sheath that comes with this blade. The old school flip top style sheath that just flips over and clicks in. I really love this knife. And quite frankly, I think you'd be really hard pressed to find a knife in this price range that is as good as a Mora. I'm sorry, but quite frankly, it is my belief that the Mora Garberg is one of the best bushcraft knives out there, period. Again, that's just my opinion. I prefer a Garberg over an Essie. I prefer it over a lot of your big name brand knives. But again, that's just my preference. I know this knife. I've had this knife since they came out. It's sharp as a razor. Always done everything I needed it to do and nothing that I didn't need it to do. So again, sorry about the lighting. It kind of sucks. So some type of setup like this, where I have a large blade, a folding saw, a belt knife, and then some type of pocket carry knife that gives me the ability to have an awl where I can poke holes and stuff if I need to. I've got a little bit of a larger blade. I can use this blade for skinning, gutting, all that good stuff. I got a smaller blade here, toothpick, tweezers, all that fun stuff. I really like the scissors on this because it allows me to cut fishing line. For me, I like to have that small pair of scissors. It just makes it a little bit easier. Something else too, I'm not a big, I'm not a big belt knife type guy. Big, like a large belt knife, I guess you could say. These Moras are about the biggest I would go. The Garberg and this, I like about a 4-inch blade. And I like the blade to be about as wide as the palm of my hand, okay? But I absolutely love, and I've been carrying this for a while now, this LT Wright Bush Baby. It's almost as wide as my hand, but for me, a small blade like this is perfectly fine, especially if I have this setup right here. I've got a large blade that I can use for heavy duty processing of whatever. I've got a folding saw. I have a small belt knife. And then I have the pocket knife. The small belt knife, again, full tang, 90-degree spine. This one right here is 01. I don't get into all the fancy steels. I like 01, 1095, or 1075. Those are the only 3 steels I like to mess with. I don't get into all the Magna Cut and stuff like that. That's your thing, that's cool. That's just not really my preference. I'm really old school when it comes to this stuff, I guess you could say. So, and once I have been using something for a long time, it's really hard for me to stray away from that. So, but I really like this blade because it's perfect size for me. The handle fits good. It's got about a 3.5 inch blade. Nice little leather sheath. I can put it on my belt, hanging around my neck. So for me, this is the perfect size knife. If I were to get one blade and one blade only for bushcraft, and I wanted it to be at a fairly good price, it would be a Garberg, period. Alright, so I know I'm going to catch a little bit of flack for this video, but again, I'm just not a big axe guy. I'm a large blade guy. I like, you know, a blade just like this, for me, is perfect. You know, and one of the big things that people say is like, well, you know, you need a good, you know, big saw and a good axe because, you know, you buck up firewood at the end of the night while you're camping. Me personally, I don't know about you guys, but when I get to camp at the end of the day, I want to relax. The last thing I want to do is buck up and split firewood for 3 hours so I can have a fire all night long. I don't like to do that, okay? If it's cold enough to where, yeah, I want a fire, or I'm traditional camping or what have you, right? I just pick up the stuff off the ground and burn it. Once you get the fire hot enough, it'll burn anything. But as far as going out and bucking up firewood, doing all that, I don't do any of that. I just pick it up off the ground, throw it in the fire once the fire's hot enough, and then it'll eventually burn. Sorry I haven't posted a video for a long time. It's summertime. I hate summertime with a passion. I was mowing today and got lit up by yellow jackets. I mean, that's just, I hate summer. But I do plan on putting some more videos and stuff out there, just kind of here and there. It's just a little bit slow going right now because I'm just super busy with other things. But I appreciate you watching the video. Thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing, all that good stuff. And let me know in the comments what you like. Do you like an axe better, or do you like a machete better? I'd say if you live up north, you're probably going to say an axe. If you live down south, you're probably going to say machete. So me, I'm kind of right in the middle. So but I prefer a larger blade. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you prefer and really kind of why you prefer it. So I know there's a ton of other, you know, good big blades out there. I know LT Wright makes a machete. SE makes that hungless that I've heard is a pretty good blade. So yeah, there's tons of different options. These are just my 2 that I stick with simply because, or only because it's simple. I like simple blades. I don't like crazy designs with crazy steels. I'm a very simple guy whenever it comes to my tool selection and what I use in the woods. There's no need to overcomplicate this stuff. And I'm not talking about the survival situation or anything like that. I'm talking about you're going out, you planning on going out in the woods and do some camping. You're going to practice on your skills some. You're going to be out there for 3 or 4 days. What do you prefer to carry? Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments below. And yeah, see you next time.